Bitcoin is both the greatest and the worst industry in the world. It attracts the worst people in the world. It also attracts the greatest people in the world. And it's this dynamic that we call price discovery. It's, the price is reflective of the fact that you've got the smartest and greatest and noblest people in the world working on Bitcoin. You've also got the worst, morally bankrupt bags in the industry as well. When you put them all together, you get a current price, which is whatever it is right now.
OG Bitcoin maximalist Max Keiser has been making Bitcoin predictions since 2011, and since then he has relentlessly promoted the dominant crypto asset. Keiser is a proud defender of Bitcoin, who feels that any skeptic of the cryptocurrency has a poor understanding of it. Max takes aim at Raoul Pal and Mike Novogratz for being at the forefront of the most recent crypto crash we've seen. He believes 2022 is the beginning of a new Bitcoin era, and with increased adoption as legal tender increases, so does demand. Keiser discusses the future of Bitcoin while being in a race with MicroStrategy CEO Michael Saylor to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible before the next phase of adoption, which Keiser says will be massive. Let's listen to Max as he gives his prediction for Bitcoin. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
Yeah, I was thinking. I think we're basically in the fourth cycle of scammers. So the Raoul Paul and Mike Novogratz and a few others are kind of at the center of this latest wave of bubble and scams that have come into so-called crypto space. And as Greg has pointed out, the asset class that is Bitcoin is kind of shrugging it off, and it's not really having an impact on Bitcoin at all, really, like it used to. In days gone by, some of these major scams, like OneCoin was from a few years ago, and others, they had more of an impact on the price of Bitcoin. What boils my blood is that rejects from Wall Street, like Mike Novogratz, who was kind of a hedge fund reject. He fucked up his hedge fund. He walked away from the industry for a couple of years, and saw an opportunity to recreate all the scammy he was doing on Wall Street in crypto. Or Raoul Powell is another Wall Street reject. I guess he wasn't given a partnership option, so he kind of went away and crawled into a cave for a while and saw an opportunity come into Bitcoin. Yeah, well, the guy Don Ho, or is it Do Kwon or Do Kwon? He had been involved in several scams before this one. So this was just the latest in a series of scams, and it was designed as a scam. It's similar to BitConnect in its design as a scam, and it blew up like a scam. The people who, like, again, Mike Novogratz, who didn't do any due diligence, is irresponsible. It goes beyond just being sloppy. I think it's bordering on the criminal. That he didn't do a shred of due diligence on this very obvious scam.
Keiser's outlook might be slightly controversial, but it's also refreshing to see his perspective on what the future will look like with the price action for Bitcoin. In part 2 of his interview, Keiser talks about inflation and how Wall Street is a cover for the central banking system, and how the fiat world could see a massive collapse very soon.
I mean, Corey, of course, was tweeting about it before it blew up and saying, this thing is built to blow up. It's going to blow up, and it blew up. Same thing now with Celsius. Celsius, the more you dig into it, the more it's an obvious scam, and it's in the process of melting down. That's going to be another huge washout in the crypto space. But all these cryptos are going to get blown out of the water. They're all technically securities anyway. The SEC is dragging their feet. We can ask ourselves why Gary Gensler is failing to do his job. Is he just another captured regulator out there doing the bidding of his puppet masters? It looks that way. But eventually, Bitcoin is so beautiful that it will push out these crooks, these charlatans, these captured regulators. There's no point in trying to sugarcoat it. These guys are recidivist criminal scumbags, and they deserve to be in prison. The fact that they're not in prison is a shame, really. It shows that the justice system in America is broken down, but I think that's pretty obvious across the spectrum. We see this all the time. So this was a situation where Alan Greenspan, who was running the Fed at the time, lowered interest rates to bail out LTCM. And so all the pensioners in America had to collectively bail out these hedge fund guys in Greenwich, Connecticut, as Greg was saying, socialize the losses. And we saw that, of course, in 1987 when the plunge protection team was created. Again, Wall Street's lunch was saved, but the losses were distributed to the masses, and the Wall Street was saved. We saw that in the 2008 subprime crisis. The bankers were saved, and everyone else had to suffer. And we're seeing it right now. There's the crisis part 2 from 2008, and everyone who's on Wall Street and is a banker is getting bailed out, and everyone else is suffering from inflation, and everyone else is suffering from price distortions and social unrest. Again, it goes back to this idea of moral hazard, which is, again, the wiggle room. When the central bankers and Al Greenspan and others, or Ben Bernanke or Jay Powell says, we have the right to engage in moral hazard. We have the right to bypass ethics, morality, and the legal system to protect the functioning of these markets and to protect the liquidity of these markets. What that's done is created an economy and a society based on fraud. So there's very little now in America that's not tied to Wall Street and therefore tied to fraud. The medical industry is now entirely fraudulent because of it's been commodified and securitized. All of banking, obviously, has been securitized and runs on a business model of fraud. The agricultural industry, the industrial industries, all of the sectors of the economy are tied to some degree to their cash desk, where they squeeze out extra profits, engaging in fraud. It's just fraud. And as the dollar loses world reserve currency, Brady, the problem is that other countries are saying, you know what, maybe we don't need America. Maybe we don't need the US dollar. So in this crisis, the difference with this crisis, Brady, is that there's no coming back. The inflation we see now is not going to reverse. Gas is going to $10, $11, $12 a gallon, and it's not going down. Prices of food are going to go up on a permanent basis because the entire globalization of post-World War II is becoming unglued, and the dollar as world reserve currency is losing its cachet. And this is a new reality for America, really, since post-World War II, where the standard of life is going to drop quite significantly because of all these bailouts. The chickens have finally come home to roost.
When the stock market deteriorates, many investors shift their funds to less risky and more reliable assets like U.S. Treasury bonds. Some Bitcoin investors are examining other investment possibilities and returning their funds to the dollar as a starting point before deciding what to do next. Max argues that gold-backed currencies can be used in conjunction with Bitcoin because many countries have previously agreed to this framework for crypto. The Bitcoin ETF is another future for expanded exposure, and most financial advisors desire to add to their clients' portfolios. But what do you think about Max Keiser's Bitcoin prediction for this year and the direction for the crypto market? Comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.